Scarcity is fundamental in economics. Scarcity renders the consumers to limit their choices of goods and services, and eventually they have to choose goods and services that can maximize their needs and satisfaction. On the other hand, in terms of production, the limited resources and factors of production are used to produce goods and services, causes the entrepreneur to minimize the cost of production and maximize their profit. In short, it is hard to meet all the needs of society as the shortage of resources hindered the aim of it. Scarcity should be tackled collectively by each individual and responsible authority, as it is also one of the main problems in achieving the Sustainable Goal Development 12, responsible consumption and production, one of the 17 goals established by the United Nations. However, Islam's belief of scarcity is nil, as Allah SWT is the true owner of everything in this world, and He has granted abundantly gifts to us as the vicegerent to utilize it in order to survive in this world.
So my question is, what is scarcity according to the Islamic perspective? So in the first slide is, what is the meaning of scarcity? So scarcity in general refers to a resources restricted supply in relation to endless wants. The concept of scarcity originates during a period of growing secularism in which religion's role in human affairs is dismissed. The topic of shortage has sparked controversy among Muslim academics. The concept is important to traditional economics in terms of choice and efficiency. Some Muslim scholars, however, disagree with this viewpoint. Muslim scholars have differing viewpoints on the subject of scarcity. Some experts dispute the reality of scarcity and believe in abundance of resources, while others accept it. Others argue that scarcity can exist at the micro level even if there is no scarcity at the macro level. The problem of Islamic economics, according to Bakir Ashad 2008, is not caused by a scarcity of material resources or way of satisfying needs, nor by a lack of natural resources. True, raw material supplied are limited, but human requirements are enormous and varied. That does not, however, imply that human economic issues are the result of unbridled human desires. Because it approaches economic challenges from a capitalist perspective, which promotes individual efforts by giving individuals freedom and ownership right, the Islamic economic system may benefit all societies. It is preferable to a socialist viewpoint, which strives to abolish all individuals' liberties and transform people into state-controlled economic slaves. The Islamic economic system does not consider product or service scarcity to be a result of the planet's limited natural resources. Allah has created the entire earth and its content for the sake of man's life in the world. For the benefit of man, Allah created the world, the heavens, and everything in between. The main challenge in the Islamic economic system is how to transfer property or money in the form of product and services to the center of society, rather than how to meet the scarcity of goods and services. Despite the fact that the Quran provides ample of evidence of God's compassion and generosity in caring for people, we must also consider our daily needs and desires, which vary from civilizations to civilizations and generation to generation. The Quran, on the other hand, reveals that adversity is one of God's method of putting His creation to the test.
Improper waste disposal is simply put as an unsustainable practice of discarding waste in a manner that's harmful to the environment. Some improper waste management practices include littering, illegal dumping of hazardous waste, and failing to segregate and recycle. Improper waste disposal occur every day, involving instances like throwing dangerous chemicals to the sea to disposing simple household battery in the bin. Some materials decay easily, some not at all. All materials such as foodstuff can decay because they are biodegradable. Biodegradable is waste that originates from plants and animal sources. They can be broken down by other living organisms. However, some waste materials such as plastic and glass are non-biodegradable waste. They cannot decay because they cannot be broken down by other living organisms. Improper way of disposing waste, whether they are biodegradable or non-biodegradable waste, can be hazardous to environment and it threat to human health. Some of the improper way of waste disposal are littering, like throwing rubbish everywhere, open burning of rubbish like agricultural waste, release of waste from factory directly into rivers, and release of smoke from factories and motor vehicles into the air. Improper way of disposing waste can be harmful to the environment. It can cause pollution. Open burning of rubbish and agricultural waste can cause haze. Smoke released from factories and motor vehicles can pollute the air. Chemical substances and other toxic material released from factory and agricultural activity can pollute the river. Improper disposal can cause air pollution, water pollution, sickness and disease, acid rain and flash flood. The word zakat also carries the meaning of fertility, purification and full of blessing or barakah. The foundation of Islam is held up by the 5 pillars and zakat form the third pillar. It refers to the determined share of wealth prescribed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be distributed to the 8 group of beneficiaries or asnaf. It is a form of worship in terms of wealth, a symbol of Islamic social justice. Zakat cleans your soul, purify or grow your wealth, and is a social religious tool to help eradicate poverty in a community or society. Zakat is also a spiritual bridge and connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to purify your wealth for the will of Allah and to His cause is to acknowledge that everything one owns belongs to Him, and it is for Him that we strive to end poverty. Besides the benefit for one's self, zakat also elevates society. Zakat seeks to build a more equitable society and uphold social justice. It also neutralizes the excessive love for material possession and gains. As a commandment for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, zakat is also an expression of one's love, obedience, and submission to the Almighty. By fulfilling zakat, one is expressing gratitude and contentment for His blessing. This brings serenity and a sense of peace to oneself. It is the institution of zakat that building information income disparity and social inequality in society. Thus, zakat brings society a step closer towards the equality to wealth and assists those who may have fallen through the crack. Resource management is the process of pre-planning, scheduling, and allocating your resources to maximize efficiency. Resource management as part of project management is all about doing more with less. Nobody likes waste. Especially in business, resource management is centered on optimization and efficiency. When you know what you need to make a project successful, you can effectively understand how to plan resources in an efficient way. What are the advantages to resource management? First is avoid unforeseen hiccups. By understanding your resource upfront and planning how to use them, you can troubleshoot gaps or problems before they happen. Second, prevent breakout. Effective resource management allows you to avoid over-allocation or dependency of resources by gaining insight into your team's workload. The third is provide a safety net. Let's say the project was not successful due to lack of resources. Resource planning and management established that you did everything you could with what you had. Next is builds transparency. Other team can gain visibility into your team's bandwidth and plan accordingly if your team is at maximum capacity or available to take on new projects. And the last is measure efficiency. With a high-level understanding of what's needed to manage and execute an upcoming project, you can effectively plan and measure ROI and utilization versus efficiency.
In economics, scarcity is defined as a limited amount of human and non-human resources in producing a certain number of economic goods in a given period. The solution to avoid scarcity from the lens of capitalism is by increasing the productivity in quality and quantity in production. Therefore, more goods and services can be provided to the consumers, and it also improves the welfare of society. Although there is a massive amount of production, this still cannot give a better socio-economic status to some individuals because of injustice in the distribution of wealth. While the richest continue to enjoy booming fortunes, the gap between the rich and poor people becomes wider, and it creates an imbalance of wealth in society. From the perspective of Islamic economists, which apply Sharia laws, the approach to avoid scarcity is through the income distribution such as sadaqah, zakat, and wakaf, in order to achieve social justice among the society. This way is being undertaken in order to achieve falah or happiness in the world, and most important in the hereafter life. The misery of needy people with lower income can come to an end when those people receive their benefits from the shared income. It is also a guideline from the Quran itself that urged the Muslims to use their abundant resources entrusted to them in the path of Allah by sharing their property with the public. As a Muslim, zakat is an obligation duty to do as it is included in the 5 pillars of Islam. Zakat is a compulsory charity contribution for a Muslim when it meets the necessary criteria of wealth in order to help the needy people. In Quran, multiple times zakat has been mentioned, and one of it is in Surah An-Nur, verse 56.
وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ.
The verse above shows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through His revelation, has commanded the Muslims to pay zakat. This conveys that the property that we own must be shared with others as an act of piety and obligation towards Allah. In short, zakat is a covenant between God and Muslim. Besides that, there are other ways to manage the wealth according to Sharia laws, which is wakaf. Wakaf is a voluntary act from the owner of the property to dispose or donate their property. Typically, wakaf involves donating building, land, or other assets to Muslim organization with no intention to reclaim the asset back. The wakaf is utilized in the form of building, graveyards, hospitals, schools, mosques with intent to the betterment of the social welfare and to ensure the donator that their wealth is being used in the path of Allah. Furthermore, there is a Quranic verse that encourages the owner of the property to spend it in a Sharia ways, which is in Surah Ali Imran, verse 92.
لن تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون وما تنفقوا من شيء فإن الله به عليم.
This verse tells us that we will never attain the highest level of virtue unless if we spend in the cause of Allah, of what we love, and whatever that we spend, Allah knows it well. Islamic teaching emphasizes the nurture of virtue such as the act of helping each other when the other side is in need. Thus, the economic problems can be solved through the Sharia approach and surely focus on uplifting the socio-economics for individuals that are in distress. Sadaqah, zakat, and wakaf are evidence for the Muslim that are accountable for their resources to use it. As a trustee of Allah, we should make donation and charity to the beneficiaries with the intent to develop the ummah. Hence, the financial status of beneficiaries will be improved and generally help the economic development of the individual.
How to sustain current resources for the future as well as achieve al-falah. We can sustain current resources for the future by setting rules in the use of the natural resources. Islamic environment ethics should be based on the following conceptual framework: constitution, tawhid, monotheism, having the value of charity, ibadah, deviations, having the value of charity, ilmu, knowledge, so in an attempt to glorify Allah SWT, khalifah, exploiting and preserving the resources, amanah, being honest in managing the resources and just in empowering it, adalah, balance where violators of amanah. As a result, the attempt to exploit resources should be planned concurrently with the effort to safeguard them. Moreover, each individual needs to be the ideal human figure so that we can help the community, government, and the society and teach them on how to sustain the resources as well as achieving al-falah by not only being religious and dedicated but also educated and physically well. These 2 points are specifically stated in the SDGs 3rd, 8th, and 4th targets. In the Islamic perspective, educational development is aimed at achieving ease of living through the benefits of science and technology, as well as directions for growing loyal human beings and fulfilling noble virtue. Education that blends the intellect and the heart, knowledge and depth, Daruzi, Nazari, Fardu Ain, and Fardul Kifayah knowledge will be used to build ideal human beings. Islamic political economics, that is the execution of numerous policies that ensure the fulfilling of the primary requirements of each individual and the community, as well as insurance that allows each individual to tend to their secondary wants based on their ability. Individual merit requirements include food, clothes, and shelter. Primary community needs include education, health, and security. They may be met by investing in agriculture, the processing sector, residential infrastructure, education, security, and healthcare. Due to the ideas and reference founded on Islamic values, there are limitations for the growth of sectors that are banned by the religion, such as the alcoholic beverage industry, pork-based food canning, and so on, in the farm sector. Furthermore, individuals or private sectors are barred from creating enterprises that produce items that are public property, such as gold, silver, copper, oil, and coal mining, as well as toll roads to stimulate the growth and development of downstream industry. Islam strongly advises prioritizing the development of heavy industries in the form of machineries. All systems must be backed by the government. The Islamic governance system is based on concepts that differ from those of democratic government system. The entire activity takes place in a specific space or location. Each area has unique qualities that should be used in line with potential, capacity, and maximum limitations of usage.
Now, we will talk about how does scarcity affect Sustainable Development Goal number 12, which is about responsible consumption and production. First of all, what is the definition of Sustainable Development Goals? Sustainable Development Goals are a collection of 17 interlinked global goals designed to be a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. But now, what we will talk are about Sustainable Development Goal number 12. Sustainable Development Goal number 12, according to the United Nations, is to ensure responsible consumption and production. This goal is about improving resources efficiency, avoiding economic growth from damaging the environment, and encourage people to live more sustainable. This goal of sustainable development is very important to achieve in order for people and other living things in this world to live in a quality life and good environment. To reach this goal, we must manage our natural resources efficiently, as well as dispose of toxic waste and pollutants in a responsible manner. Limited resources that we have, or in other words, scarcity, is not a problem to achieve the goal of sustainable development, as the goal promotes for people to limit their consumption every day in order to take care of the environment today and later. In fact, scarcity plays a significant role in order to limit the consumption and production of resources. Sustainable Development Goal promote us to manage the resources efficiently by not having waste in producing and consuming resources.
Stuff that's hurting our planet. What do we think of? We think of like smokestacks, cars, oil spills. We don't really think about all the food we throw away.
The wastage that we do now might affect us badly or the other generation in the future. Educating people nowadays is very challenging. Thus, with this goal of sustainable development, people might open their eyes to look at what will happen in the future if they are not using the resources that the world is having now properly.
In short, Islam stressed that scarcity never exists because Allah's gift is abundance in this world, and the human are held accountable for any resources they possess to spend it, such as zakat, alms, or waqf, for others with intent for the betterment of individuals' socio-economic status, and fulfill the happiness in this world and hereafter. It should be noticed that the scarcity happened because of humans' neglect in handling the resources efficiently until it led to wastage and imbalance in consumption within the consumer. Hence, lots of parties have pitched in to evade the resources from getting scarce and handle it in the correct way. Significantly, this effort can be seen through the establishment of Goal 12 in Sustainable Development Goals by the United Nations that requires the resources to be efficiently used, prevent the environment from getting damaged due to economic growth, and encourage society to conduct their life sustainably. Undoubtedly, the issue of scarcity cannot be taken lightly, and should be addressed strongly.